Hey there, I want to do a quick video, the first half of it, just talking about what I'm doing on these marble cups. I have an order of 5 of these, and each one of them is a separate, well, they're basically the same except just of varying colors. So, and I've already done a video on one of these, but I didn't talk in it. So I want to talk a little bit at first, and then I'll just hit the music after that and continue on, since it's kind of a long video. But what I did on this cup is I prepped the cup with paint. That just helps the paint of the epoxy paint blend a little better and cover better, and the edges, especially down near the navy part here, not have a white outline and whatnot whenever I'm marbling it. So I prepped the cup with white on the top and navy on the bottom, and kind of blend it in the middle. My colors that I'm using are just different acrylic paints that I like, different brands. Really doesn't matter, the brand doesn't bother me at all. I like the metallics in some of them and the glitter in some of them, and some of them no metallics at all. So I'm using English Navy by Apple Barrel as the main color at the bottom, and then I've got Folk Art and Deco Art, different colors. I love some of the metallics by Folk Art, especially this light blue is really pretty. I'm going to put that one in this one. The variation in this particular cup is going to be this kind of an olive green metallic. That's going to be the variation for this particular one, so that not all of the customers' cups are exactly the same, but they're very similar. I do use Alumilite white dye on the top portion of the cup, but I add a little bit of this extreme hologram glitter. It's really minimal. It only adds a teeny sheen to it, so for a guy cup, it's still not too glittery for them, but it adds a little something to the top half of the cup. And then I'm going to add the silver to this one, because this silver is one of my favorite things to marble with. It just blends and does pretty things that some of the colors don't do, so I like to use silver sometimes. But anyway, so now the cup is actually spinning and ready to go. I've got 2 separate cups of epoxy here, and what I'm going to do is measure out the different cups I need. I'll have 5 cups in all, 5 colors. I'll need more white and navy than I will the other colors, so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of portion them out. Smaller amounts in the 3 colors, bigger amounts in the navy and the white, so that I have enough to cover there. You don't need much to marble the bottom half of a cup, because it doesn't take much or you'll over marble it. So I just had a little bit of each one of this in a cup, and I'm going to mix those colors in a second. And then I'm going to give the majority of the 2 colors and the larger cups the white and the navy, because I'm actually going to brush those on to be sure that they're covered. So I think that's enough in each cup. Let's make sure. A little bit more there. And you want to have a little bit left of those 2 main colors to be able to marble back in too as well, just in case you need that variation to move back into the colors. And a little bit more here. And I use popsicle sticks to marble with, and I use foam brushes to brush the epoxy on. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take white, and I'm going to go ahead and drip my white, just a couple of drips of this Alumilite dye. It's really powerful. You don't need much. 1, 2, 3 or so drops of it is enough for sure. 1 bottle of that goes a long way, and it's not cheap, but it goes a long way, so that's the good thing. Then I'm going to add a little bit of this holographic acrylic paint to that one. I'm going to set that one right here. Then I'm going to add my navy to this cup. Just a couple of drops, guys, because if you do more than that, the epoxy gets gummy and you can't do what you want to do. It strings way too much. Now I'm going to add my other 3 colors to the other cups. After you stir them up a bit, shake them up, just each cup gets just a couple of drops. That's all you need. You're going to have your paints for a long time. I've had these paints since the beginning, and I marble a lot. I rarely have to buy more because you only use such a little bit in each one to get the effects you want. Just gonna set those aside for now because we're gonna work with those later. All right, just shake them up each time just to make sure that they're nice and blended. Okay. Each cup gets a separate popsicle stick, or whatever your method of dribbling it on is. I like popsicle sticks. All right, I'm gonna stir these up just kind of carefully, and really honestly, even if you're whipping it and you think you're making bubbles, I don't really see a lot of bubbles when I stir the acrylics in, but if you do, you're gonna hit it with a torch anyway, just real quick, and you're gonna get those bubbles out, so it doesn't matter. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about the stirring process because it's not gonna hurt anything. By the way, when I'm marbling, I know everyone has their own preference, but I like to marble with the cup coming at me. I can't seem to catch it the other way. It keeps going away from me and I can't see what I'm doing. So I like the cup always turning towards me. The Kraken motors do turn both directions, so if you like it the other way, and then you can do that. I prefer, I'm gonna put a little bit more navy in this one. I prefer it coming at me. It's just my own preference. If you see that you don't have quite enough of the paint in the cup and it's too thin for you or too transparent, then just add a teeny bit more, stir it up, and you're ready to go. All right, now what I do on these two-tone cups to start off with, just so that I have something to marble into, is I start with the base color. That's gonna be the navy. I'm gonna put it on there with my foam brush, just so that I have navy to marble into with these other colors. I'm kind of trying to make these cups look like water, or something to that effect, but all slightly different, varying colors for the people that are in that office, because these are all going to an office of for a mold company actually. So they wanted these colors, but they wanted them to be all a little bit different so that each one knew whose cup was what. They're going to get their name on there and the business logo. So I pretty much just take the navy, and I want to save some of my navy, obviously, because I'm going to marble with it. I'm going to marble back into it later with navy, just to give it some oomph. But for right now, I'm just going to get that on there. I'm going to wipe off my foam brush here and get the navy to go back down into the cup. Put that off to the side. Now I'm going to take my white with another foam brush, separate one, not the navy one. Start at the top so that I don't mix the colors too much. And I'm going to get white to go all over and spread all over the top part of this cup so that I can marble up into that, and it's a wet situation. It will marble nicely. And this again has a little bit of that sparkle in there with that holographic acrylic added to the Alumilite dye. And I kind of just try to work up here first, and then I'm going to go carefully down to that edge where the navy is. I don't want it to blend too much and come too far up into my white until I'm ready for it. And get close as I can, but not quite to the line yet. And I want to definitely keep some of my white, because the white I will be marbling down into the other part. Okay, so I'm going to carefully start hitting that line. If it gets on my foam brush, that's okay, because I'm going to use that anyway. I'm going to marble past that, so that won't matter. You can even bring it up just a little bit if you want. I just want to touch the two areas so everything is wet for the next step. I think we look pretty good there. Bring it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to set that one aside. I don't want to touch that brush anymore because it's tainted with navy. Okay, so right now I'm going to grab my torch. I'm going to take any bubbles out that I might have created by using the brush. Don't overheat it because it'll marble too fast on you and it won't do what you want it to do. You won't have as much control. Just until you can see the little bubbles stop popping, and then you're good. Okay, I think we're ready. All right, so let me get my stuff and set it aside here. It's kind of everywhere on my workspace. All right, I think I'm just going to start with probably the light blue. Really doesn't matter which color you start with. I'm going to start with the blue on this one. I'm going to stir that up. Looks like a good consistency to me. It's still flowing, as you can see. It's not too stringy. So I did not use too much of my acrylic. And then, since I'm going to make this look like water, I'm just going to start drizzling it kind of randomly back and forth. It's going to look very different now as opposed to what it looks like at the end. But the drizzling back and forth helps a lot with the way that the colors blend together. And I like to go up past my line just enough to make it pretty, make it look like shoreline or top of the ocean. And you can always maneuver that with your popsicle stick later if it's not done quite exactly what you want it to do. All right, don't overdo it either because you have a lot of colors to do. So I'm gonna add a little bit more. If you want a concentrated area of that color, you can just really add some to it right there. And then I think I'm gonna go with my silver next. And silver moves a lot. Silver is one of those colors that just, if you can over marble with it a little bit, because it tends to move. So be easy on it at first. Add it later if you need to, because it will move more than some other colors do. But it's actually one of the ones that marbles the best. In my opinion, I use silver a lot, even in little doses, because it seems to make the other colors just do awesome things too. But again, it will move, and I can see it moving already. So you just have to be aware of how mobile that silver can be, because otherwise it would become mud, and you don't want mud. Mud is not what we're here for. I'm trying to make some differentiation here and make it look pretty. All right, so now I'm going to go in with my olive green, and this is the one that's going to make this cup different. Each one of these 5 that I did actually have a slightly varying color. One of them had turquoise added, one had purple added, one had a more like a cobalt blue added to the normal colors. This one is going to have this, just a little bit of this olive green, not too much because I don't want it to be radical, but I do want this person to know, okay, that's my cup. So just a little something. You can always go back and add more. Do it minimal first. Go minimalist if you can in the beginning, because you don't know how this is all going to play out. And I'm kind of the funny part is I'm kind of a OCD, like my way or the highway perfectionist. I want everything exactly how I want it. And the funny part about that is marbles don't always do what you want them to do. In fact, they're fairly fly by the seat of your pants. So maybe that's why I like doing them so much, because yes, I have borderline certain amount of control, but I don't have total control. And maybe that's the excitement for me, is to see, okay, I'm starting this with what I know, but how much of this is going to do what it wants to do on its own. Let me go grab a paper towel. I'll be right back, 2 seconds. I'm back. Sorry about that. I want to come up a little bit into my white. I want them all to roughly do the same. So I'm kind of looking at the other cups that I did to see how far up they came into the white. The key to this is a level rotisserie. If you don't have a level turner and this moves up or down on you, you're not going to be able to control it. So marbling is absolutely, the key to marbling is having a level rotisserie. I mean, it's the #1 thing. You want to be able, it already kind of does what it wants to do on its own. You don't want it to do things you don't want it to do, like move up and down. Okay, so I think I'm going to actually add some navy back into some of these negative spaces, maybe just a teeny bit up here. And there's no reason why the dark color can't come up into the light. It actually does really pretty things when you do that. And I just splashed that onto my lap. That's awesome. Okay, add a little bit of navy there. The navy breaks it back up again and brings the negative space back to the positive. And yes, you can marble it by just drizzling it. Sometimes I do that to begin with, just like I did on this one. And then I like to take and you'll see me all the time doing it, I'll take my paddle here, my popsicle stick, and I'll kind of lay the stick flat and just move it exactly where I want it to go so that it has a chance for that color to hit where I want it to hit. If it's marbling too much, then I can break it up by using the same method. Touch it there, break it up, break that swirl up if it's doing too much. Now when I add the white to this, that's when it really starts to go crazy. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that now. White, again, just like silver, you can overdo. So I'm going to carefully drizzle my white in. Because white brings that negative space back to the positive again. But white is where the beauty happens. That's why I always add my white at the end, because I want my other colors to kind of already know what they're doing. The white grabs them and, like, I don't even have the word I'm looking for. It just sets above them and floats, which is what is so cool about white. That's why I always try to leave that to the end and let it do its magic, because the white is actually the key to everything. If you're getting a little bit of color onto your white, just wipe it off on your paper towel at the bottom so that you don't do too much cross. Like right now, I need to do that right there. A little bit too much color there. I want it to be pure white sometimes. Sometimes I don't. See right there, I picked up too much color, so I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off. Take this, and I want this to go like that, because I want it to look like waves. Now, what it looks like right now and what it's going to look like at the end are radically different things, but you can kind of tell what you want it to do. When you hit it with heat, it will do something else. So that's another thing I'm going to show you at the end. Heat can be your best friend and heat can be your worst enemy. So you have to be really careful with how much heat you add to make it do things. I see a spot I don't like over here, so I'm going to take a little bit of color, maybe this green, and fix this. I don't like how it did this, so I'm going to break that up. And the good part about acrylics mixed into epoxy, there's so many things that you can do. I mean, you can fix it. If you see something you don't like, you can just fix it. You can manipulate it and fix it. Oh, it's looking good already. I like the green. I think this customer is going to like that color too. I do want to go up just a teensy bit on the border, on the top edge. So let's add some of this ice blue up here again and let it come up. Need a little more drama up here. Oh, there we go. Drama. That's what we needed. We needed some more drama. Now, every now and then, if you see bubbles, very carefully again, Go across, hit them. Do not use this time to manipulate the marble because it's still doing its own thing. I'm simply getting bubbles out right now, so I'm literally not staying on here for very long, just enough to get those bubbles out. I'm not trying to marble with the heat as of yet. Oops, move on. Got it. Because it will over marble in a heartbeat. I think I'm going to add some more of the ice blue back down in here again so there's not too much of this green. I'm not trying to be in the swamp or trying to be in the ocean, but every now and then there's different colors that flash in the ocean, so no reason why olive green couldn't be one of those colors this time. I just don't want it to be dominant. Now you see that that color is getting a little stringy now. As the epoxy starts to warm up, the acrylics will become stringy, but it's not the end of the world. It still works if you're careful and you just kind of wipe off your stick. Don't let it string. Force it not to, I don't like it when it strings because I don't have control. So I just kind of watch that stringing. Oh, it's looking good so far. I'm liking it. I see a little spot in the white I want to fix, and you can kind of erase with your white. Like up here you'll see, I don't know if you can see it that far away, but there's a little string of color that I don't care for. And I'm going to erase it with this right there. I don't like how that did that. Just going to erase it with my white. There you go. That'll marble itself in. And I mean, you have to know when to stop, and I've actually had to learn that the hard way over the years doing this, because you want to keep touching and keep manipulating and keep adding. And sometimes you have to sit back from the cup, like right now. It's looking really good right now. You have to sit back from the cup and go, look, I think this thing is looking really good. I don't think I need to touch it anymore. And you have to know when to say no, when to stop. A little bit more white in places so it looks basically even. Even but not even. Controlled chaos. I think it might need a little bit of navy up towards the top line here, and be super careful with that. Adding a dark color to the top, but it will blend in. So you could take a teensy bit, just wipe your stick off again, and just add a teeny bit. And manipulate it. Make it do what you want it to do. I only want a little bit there. I don't want a big blob of navy. I want a little color there. Just because the more it marbles and the more it spins, it's going to change. And a little bit of navy there. I think I'm going to just let this one spin for a second. Grab my paper towel and take a look at it, because I think I'm liking it. I think I'm liking it as is. I might not even add any heat to manipulate this one. I think it's doing pretty things without any heat involved. And that's always a good day, because sometimes heat, like I said, you can make it do pretty things and you can make a mess. So, I'm liking it. Sometimes I also do a little trick, and let me see if I can do that. For some reason, occasionally, to make a cool effect, you'll see me tap the bottom of the cup like this, and then stop. The jarring of it, and it's not going to hurt your rotisserie, you're not banging it too hard, but the jarring of the colors tends to make them kind of blend together and do wicked little things. So every now and then, if you see me tapping the bottom of the cup, I'm trying to get it to do kind of a weird, I don't even know the word to look for, but it's kind of just like it jars back and forth and the colors jerk back and forth just a little bit, just enough to make some cool things happen. I'm loving it. I think I'm done with this one. I think that was probably the easiest one I've done so far. Let me stand up from it and look at it real quick. Make sure that the top line looks okay. I might hit this. Now you'll notice, and if you've seen me do this before, on my turners, you can move them backwards and hit a spot. Let's see, that spot right there needs to do something for me. I'm going to hit that one with a little concentrated heat. You'll see me take the turner and go like this. You can do that on a Kraken. You can't do that on any other turner. I like to do that because sometimes I saw something that I want to fix and I want to wait till that comes all the way back around again. I want to fix it now. So that's what I did. I'm really loving that olive green in there. That looks pretty rad. I might add a teensy bit of it to the top. It seems like it needs some of that. Just very, very little. Just some drama here maybe. Just to add some green to the top. A little bit of green here. You just add a tiny bit to your popsicle stick and just touch it there. Make a line, make a wave. Make it come up. And then you can always take your heat and kind of force it to blend together with the other colors. I'm gonna grab my torch. I'm gonna make that green blend right there, very carefully. I don't want to manipulate the top of it too much. I'm gonna let it spin again and let me see what it's doing. I don't like that right there again. A little bit of a snafu with the stringing. So I'm going to take some gray and cover that up. Right here, you can see that. Just kind of break it up. Break up a string line. If a string line happens, it's not the end of the world. Break it up and then use your heat to make it blend. And it will. As this goes, it will actually completely change. I mean, it looks really good right now. It will change a lot by the time I photograph it for you. And that's just the nature of marbling. It kind of keeps doing its thing in the heat of this room. Sometimes I'll sit here and just kind of fiddle with little things I see happening. Try not to fiddle too much. But I want some drama right there. I want that white to come down, for example, and not be so the same. And I don't like this little spot, so I'm going to take some white and erase it. And now that won't be there. That is the beauty of acrylics. There's so much that you can do. Let me stand up again and look at it. Yeah, I'm thinking I love this one. Just like that. So I'm going to set these colors aside. I actually have molds that I just bought. I don't want to keep throwing away all this nice color. So I bought molds. I'm going to make some really cute molds with some of this leftover epoxy. I mean, why not? Right now I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to show you what this cup looks like with a little bit of a better background, not so much mess. And put a new paper towel there. If you guys haven't done it, I highly recommend a paper towel roll holder in your cup room. It has changed everything. Okay, I'm gonna hit this really, really fast. I don't really even think it has any more bubbles in it. But boy, do I like it. I knew that olive green was gonna look good. I don't think that's about as much heat as I want to touch. I'm gonna zoom in just a bit for you. And then I will photograph this cup as soon as it's ready to go. As soon as I get ready to take that tape off, I'll photograph it and let you see how different it looks when it's actually about an hour dried. Alrighty, thank you. I hope you learned a lot today from this, my little marbling fetish that I have. And I will take photographs of the paint and the paint brands and whatnot so that you can see that. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great day.